Because all I see is these people who are telling me, oh, just leave Ontario. Like, just leave Ontario. I can't. We all work hybrid jobs or fully in the office. So that
Not going to risk my son's health because this country is falling apart. Something has to change.
Requisite, or a requirement, I guess I should say, that if you want to work for like Service Ontario or Service Canada, you have to be a complete and utter asshole.
I'm not sure if people understand how bad the situation in Ontario is right now.
I think Ontario is the most fucking miserable place. The province of, if you're not from Canada.
What the fuck is going on?
Canadians stop paying all their bills. That's how they're giving the middle finger to the Canadian government.
I don't know where you guys are from, but I currently live in Canada, Ontario specifically, and I want to show you guys the prices of all grocery items because this stuff is ridiculous. Alright, cereal is 2 for $7 or $5. In case you were feeling some cookies or something, you're gonna have to pay $3 for this shit. Like, bro, why does this cost almost $5? This is not worth $5. And look, half of the bag is empty. Like, why is 1 liter of Canada Dry or Coke almost $3? I don't be grocery shopping often, so let me know if I'm tripping about these prices or if these actually seem expensive. Like, bro, look at these nuts. $8, $14, $10, $12. Like, bro, what is going on? Like, look at the prices of these eggs. Do they not want us to have fucking eggs? What's going on here? Oh, damn. Bro, $6 for oatmeal? What the fuck is going on here? I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather just buy food every day.
Well, thanks to Doug Ford, electricity prices are going up by 13% next month. Let me explain what's happening. The Ontario Energy Board is increasing the cost of electricity. This happens all the time, but remember that Doug Ford promised to decrease the cost of electricity. Remember, when Doug Ford first took office, he promised to lower electricity rates by 12%, and they have only gone up since he's been in office multiple times. But what Doug Ford has done to compensate for this is also increase the energy rebate, which is also going up by 10%, meaning that on average, your electricity rates are only going to be going up by about 3%. Here's the problem, though. Where does that energy rebate come from? Your tax dollars. Not only that, in Doug Ford's first term, he actually signed a contract that would make citizens, residents, subsidize the cost of corporate electricity. And in order for us to not feel the brunt of that burden, he decided to increase the rebate, which means that there is now a larger deficit in the budget for this. So Doug Ford promised lower electricity prices. Instead, they went up. He started to use our tax dollars to give us our own money back so that we wouldn't notice. And then on top of that, he also is giving cuts to corporations that we are in essence paying for. And on top of that, Ontario used to generate almost 100% of its electricity from green sources. Under Doug Ford, we have been expanding the amount of gas that we are using, and gas is significantly more expensive in the long run compared to green energy. And this is only true as we have hotter and hotter summers where natural gas is more inefficient for heating and cooling. Doug Ford is incompetent, and he's not a fiscal conservative. He is running the largest deficits in Ontario history, and they are only getting larger every year. And then he's bribing us with our own tax dollars and increasing our deficit burden just so you don't notice the increase in prices. If you want to stay up to date on news and politics in Ontario, hit the like and follow buttons.
where are we all going to live? We are all going to be living in tent cities, in compound camps. You remember the movies Hunger Games? That's where we're heading. So either you're going to live in the capital with the rich, where you have everything and you can have all these properties and empty houses and you don't care because you have a lot of money, and the rest of us will live in districts. That's what's happening. Canada is becoming that because that's all I see. Because all I see is these people who are telling me, oh, just leave Ontario. Like, just leave Ontario. I can't. We all work hybrid jobs or fully in the office. So that means we're bound to the city because we have to be able to get to work. I can't live 2 hours outside the city if I got to get to work every day. And the cost of gas and transportation is really high. So not only do I have to pay to go to work, to make money to pay to go to work, I can't live that far out for my kids. That's why I'm moving back to the city. I moved out of the city. I left the GTA. I moved to the Niagara region to save money. But I have to go back because my daughters have jobs in the city and they can't afford to pay rent. So I have to move back so they have somewhere to live. That's why I'm moving. Otherwise, I'd be staying out here. I would not be going back to the city. but I have to. And because it's so expensive in the city, I can't afford to rent something there. My mother's moving in with me to help pay for the rent. So this is the situation, okay? So we're all moving into this one big house together because we have to all pool our money together to be able to afford something. And it's still with beyond our budget, like still beyond our budget. And on top of all of that, these landlords have unrealistic criteria that they are implementing, like unrealistic. And I can do a whole video explaining all the things I have personally experienced and the things that people I know have experienced, just to tell you how bad it is. Number two, the rent prices are insanely high, that it's like there's houses sitting there that have been empty and they won't lower the rent, so therefore they're just sitting there empty. There's also being outbidded. So, you go to put an application in a house and you find out someone else offered more. You're not winning that one. And also being outnumbered. I put an application in on Monday for a house. There was 2 other applications at the time. By the time my application went in, there was 2 more. So there was 5 in total, and they were conducting video interviews with the applicants to decide who they were going to rent to. They didn't even make it to me. And I have 16 days to find a place. So then there's the foreign investors who are buying up all the properties in Canada and just having them sit there empty because, again, they have these extremely high rent prices on them and insane criteria. I have experienced a lot of prejudice in that arena. It's pretty insane, actually. And that's, again, another video. I can go into detail about that. And then on top of that, there's also the Airbnb issue. So if you go onto Airbnb, and I encourage you, go onto Airbnb and look for a fully detached house that is for Airbnb, not an apartment. Don't look for basement apartments or apartments. I want you to look for fully detached houses on Airbnb. And then I want you to put in how much it would cost to rent it for 2 weeks. And let me know what that price is. Tell me, is it a sustainable price? Because I most likely will have to put my things into storage and then move into an Airbnb until I can find a place. And I'm looking everywhere. I'm not being picky. It's not like I'm saying, I'm only looking in one area. I am looking everywhere in the GTA because I need a place to live. I have children that I need to house. I need somewhere to go. Okay? So where are we going to live? I don't know. Maybe I'll be in District 8. 8's my favorite number. So maybe I can get assigned to District 8. And which child will I send as tribute? I don't know. We'll find out which one gets to go. I'm banking on my second born. They're usually the most wildest, and she's like a little chihuahua, so maybe she could survive and get us some food for the year. I don't know. But start watching Hunger Games again, because that's where we're headed. And maybe a little bit of Handmaid's Tale, even though it's more America. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We get influenced by the US pretty easily. So let's see where this utopian society takes us.
Doug Ford is going to turn everyone in Ontario into live streamers. That is the only feasible route left. Nobody's hiring. We can't go to school. The only option left is to live stream. It has the lowest barrier of entry when it comes to like equipment and setup. Guys, like legally speaking, this is the only option left. Because we can't make money off the creator phone. We don't got that. So live streaming is.
Is it like a prerequisite or a requirement, I guess I should say, that if you want to work for like Service Ontario or Service Canada, you have to be a complete and utter asshole? Is that required? Because like every time I go into one, it is so unpleasant. It's unbelievable. Today I went in and there was this little grandma in there, and like she was elderly and it sounded like English wasn't her first language. And the lady that was helping her, who also sounded like English was not her first language, and you would think would be a little bit more understanding or patient with somebody else in a similar situation, was such an asshole to this poor little lady because she didn't understand something that she was asking for. I didn't understand either. I didn't know what she was talking about. And we were both there for the same thing. Anyways, just such an asshole. And I just want to know, like, why? Does someone piss in your Cheerios every morning? Like, what the fuck?
I have some really exciting news to share with you all. We've officially moved out of Ontario, the GTHA, to the interior of British Columbia in the Okanagan. And let me tell you, it is one of the best decisions we've ever made for our family's lives. Like, this is incredible. The quality of life difference It's mind-blowing. It really felt like we left ground zero of a liberal nuclear bomb that they dropped across all of our major metros in the GTHA. And again, I was born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario. I spent 35 years in Ontario. And the quality of life difference moving out of Ontario is incredible. So you don't need to move out of Canada to go ahead and get that quality of life, that safety that you want. Like the place that we moved to, it's so safe. People are so nice. The cost of living is also lower. The weather is so much better. There are so many things. It's such a family-friendly atmosphere. I swear to God, I felt like within our neighborhood and community, everyone was just so friendly. I was shocked. I looked at my wife, I'm like, why is everyone so nice here? Like, this doesn't even feel real. It feels fake. It just didn't make sense. Having the nature, the incredible mountains, the water, it doesn't even compare to anything in Ontario. In life, to get anything that's worthwhile, you have to go ahead and reach for it. You have to go ahead and grab it. You have to take a little bit of a risk. But I'm telling you, we took that risk for me and my family. It was one of the best decisions we ever made. And I want to help you. I partnered with the same team that, by the way, helped me make this entire move across the country in Canada to make it as seamless as possible. So you can find their link, that entire team, my agents, my lawyer, my broker that made this possible, linked in my bio. Go ahead and check them out so you can go ahead and get that quality of life that you want for your family. And honestly, it's been crazy because in Ontario, you just don't even notice it. They slowly strip away your quality of life and you don't even realize it until finally you make a change and you go somewhere with a better quality of life and you're like, oh my God, honestly, I can never move back. We still see the issues that plague Canada from coast to coast, but make no mistake, it is not ground zero. You see the nuclear fallout of these policies impacting every place that you go to. So it's definitely not perfect, but let me tell you, it is a million times better. Try the west coast of Canada. Try the east coast of Canada. I think there's so much there to offer. Go on a vacation, go on a trip, try it, check it out, and go ahead and take that opportunity to make it happen if it's within your grasp.
I'm not sure if people understand how bad the situation in Ontario is right now. Like, you're not even allowed to go for a drive. So the police can randomly pull you over and determine whether you're out for an essential reason.
Somebody just commented on my previous thing where they said that I was saying fucking Toronto and Ontario are some of the most miserable places, and I said it's all of Canada. It really is the whole world, but someone said it's all of Ontario. So I've been in Montreal, I've been in rural Quebec, I've been all over Ontario, all over southern Ontario, all over northern Ontario. I've lived in Vancouver, I've been in Germany, Amsterdam, Turkey, New York, and Chicago. Honestly, Ontario is definitely the most miserable place on the earth. Again, it's the same system everywhere on the planet, but it's complicated. There's a variety of factors. So the reason I think Ontario is the most fucking miserable place, the province of, if you're not from Canada or whatever, or yeah, if you're not from Canada, you don't know what Ontario is. Ontario is like our province that Toronto is in, all right? That it's the biggest province in Canada. We have 10 million people, maybe 15 million people here. 3 of them are in Toronto, another 7 are in the surrounding areas, and then there's another 5 million in the rest of the fucking province around. And the reason Ontario is from what I've sensed, the reason Ontario is the most miserable place is because it's cultural, it's vibrational, it's historical, it's a variety of factors. It's the weather, man. It's the frequency, it's the vibes. When everyone around you is fucking miserable. The thing I fucking hate about Ontario people, honestly, is that, like, they cannot allow anybody else to be fucking happy. Your happiness, if you have anything that they don't fucking have, they automatically resent you for it and they want to bring you down. Whereas in other places, people are a little bit more carefree and people here are just extremely... You know what? Honestly, I'm just going to fucking say it, and it's going to piss a lot of people off, man. It's not the fucking immigrants. It's the white people, man. It's the white people, and not just the white people, but it's the Canadians. It's the place, all right? The longer you've been here, the fucking more miserable you get. I've seen this happen to everyone I've ever met, except for a few people. So my grandpa is like in his 90s and he's still happy, but that's because he's not really fucking attached to this fucking reality at all. He's somewhere else. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about any of this shit. So he can flow through it without it affecting him. But if you actually are sensitive to energy and you realize what's going on, yeah, this place is pretty fucking miserable, man. For example, people in Quebec and BC, I think, are significantly more happy than Ontario, just because they didn't grow up in this environment. And of course, there's fucking sirens. A lot of people fucking hate people from Ontario because it's just like, you know, it's hard to put into words, but it's just misery, man. Like, people just, you know.
My family and I moved from Canada to Texas. And I want to tell you the main reason for me why I wanted to move here. It was for the people. I get teary-eyed almost always when I talk about this, because this feels like how Canada used to feel 20 years ago. I mean, the people are so genuine here. I'm not used to being called ma'am all the time. I'm not used to having people like not run me over at the grocery store. Like when I go to the grocery store with my kids and they're waiting 10 meters away so I can friggin' cross the road. Like, in Canada, I got used to where you try to get help from someone and they run from you. They don't want to even say hi to you. Here they're telling me, have a great day. I didn't even talk to them and they're telling me have a great day. I just passed them, like the guy doing the carts, and he's like, have a great day. The girl at the cashier, like, I mean, I just love it.
Can someone help me understand how it's $35 just to make tacos now? Like, used to make tacos because it was like a meal you can make super cheap. I just went in the grocery store to only buy things I needed to make tacos, and it's $35. What the fuck is going on? This is fucking nuts.
Canadians stop paying all their bills. That's how they're giving the middle finger to the Canadian government. They're saying, you're going to keep raising inflation and making everything so expensive. We're just going to stop paying for shit. Huge surge in people not paying their housing and other bills. They're not paying credit cards. Mainly, they're not paying mortgages. Over $1 billion in people who didn't make a monthly mortgage payment is what they're saying. And they're doing it all for the specific reason of they're tired. They're tired of the government. They're tired of the inflation. They're tired of not being able to put food on the table for their kids. So they all got together and said that we just won't pay for shit. Is there a lesson there? I guess we're going to find out. I'm going to keep a close eye on it because super interesting. Considering I deal in foreclosures daily. Super interesting. That would make my business boom. And I don't want that. It's already booming. I'm just saying.
This is what $50 worth of grocery looks like. Pringles, lemonade, couple tomatoes, french fries, 2 things of Nutri-Grain, chocolate, bars, Scotch bonnet sauce, 2 island drinks, a couple little candy bags, a milk to go, a cucumber, box of crackers, 2 little snacky things, green onions, bananas, some wraps, and a cauliflower. $50 at Walmart.
Genuinely, how is anybody affording life right now in Ontario? Like, I've always known that I wanted to leave Canada at some point, but these days it's more and more brain fart, sorry. These days it's just more and more on my brain every single day that I wake up. I'm just really hating it here. The weather is shit. We barely see the sun, and when it does come out, it's still not warm. We get hot weather for 3 months out of the year, if we're lucky, 4.5 or 3.5. Groceries are the cost of your mortgage or your rent. Mortgage and rent are extremely high. Then you have to pay for car insurance. And then you have to pay for a car payment if you don't own your vehicle. Then you got to pay expensive ass utilities. And people say, oh, well, you have free health care. But realistically, I would rather pay for freaking health care at this point, because nobody has a family doctor here. And when you do go see the doctor, you're in the waiting room for about 2 hours waiting for the damn doctor. Education is free, but it's shit. The education in North America is so bad. And now the government is taking away the money that they were giving people to help them to go to post-secondary. So it's like, what do we really have going on here for anybody to want to live here? I just don't get it. Coming to live in Canada is like signing up for depression for the rest of your life, and signing up to work to die. For anyone that's wondering why exactly I'm leaving Canada, I highly recommend you watch this next video. I seriously have PTSD from having to go to hospitals with my son in the past 2 years. We've gone 3 times. Once we waited 17.5 hours to see a doctor. The second time we went, I waited 16 hours, asked them how long it would be, and they told me at least 8 or 9 hours because there was only one doctor on staff. I ran out of formula, so I had to leave. I ended up going home, getting more formula, and going to a different hospital. We arrived at 4 o'clock in the morning, only to find out that they were closed overnight with the emergency department because there was no doctors on staff. So I sat in the car with my son for 3.5 hours until they opened so that we could see a doctor. It is absolutely disgusting. I cannot keep doing this, and all because my family doctor could only see us in about 2.5 months. He's a baby. I am not going to risk my son's health because this country is falling apart. Something has to change.
Healthcare workers nationwide, of course, there is no break from the intensifying strain on hospitals. And tonight, there are new signs of just how dire conditions really are. CTV News has obtained this video from inside a hospital in Ontario that has turned one of its bathrooms into a patient room. Yet another troubling indication of a health system that has long been the source of pride and is now increasingly turning into a source of shame. Our Critical Care series this week investigates the problems and examines solutions. CTV's medical correspondent Avis Favreau starts us off.
Emergency doctors and nurses have been warning about a growing crisis within the country's ERs. Now a patient echoes their concerns.
The amount of patients that were, in this hallway or in this situation was overwhelming.
Siobhan Mitchell talked to CTV from inside a Toronto hospital, posting this photo on social media. She says she waited 48 hours in this hallway to get a bed for emergency surgeries and said she witnessed a flood of sick patients jamming the ER.
There's too many people. It's just so many people seeking care, immediate care, critical care, urgent care.
She praises staff and had a good outcome, but wants Canadians to understand ER overcrowding is real.
Until you are in it, you don't really understand how desperate and critical it is. It's terrifying, it really is.
Both urban and rural emergency units are facing great strain offering urgent care because of staffing shortages and a flood of patients. And a new study from BC, reviewed by this ER doctor, shows that since the dramatic drop in ER visits early in the pandemic, hospitals there saw a rebound that continues to grow. with more patients with more severe diseases, more of whom who need a hospital bed.
It's what emergency physicians have been saying essentially since the summer of 2021 across Canada, that patients are sicker, the number of patients needing hospital admission are higher, and the challenge to that is that our hospitals are operating above 90% of capacity. Some hospitals are operating over 100%.
Because hospitals are full, newly admitted patients wait in the ER much longer. Last year, hospitals reported 90% of those waiting in ER got a bed within 40 hours. This year, it's up 9 hours to 49 hours. And when admitted patients stay in the ER, there's no room for doctors to treat the incoming.
We have to see patients in these unconventional spaces, like waiting rooms, like driveways, like closets, that patients don't expect, and they certainly deserve better.
It's a crisis of supply and demand, not enough hospital beds for an aging and growing population, along with an exodus of nurses and doctors. Earlier this year, ER physicians in Alberta and BC sent out letters, some warning patients not to come to emergency, saying overcrowding was increasing the risk of medical errors. And there have been some deaths this year, like that of 37-year-old Allison Holthoff, who waited hours in the ER for care. But this paper warns there may be more that aren't visible. Using a formula, doctors came up with a preliminary finding for what they say is a hidden pandemic.
Based on our population, you would find that over a year, somewhere between 8,000 and 15,000 patients are dying in Canada because of emergency department crowding.
Earlier this year, Ottawa handed the provinces an extra $46 billion to start fixing some of the problems in healthcare, including ER overcrowding. But health workers we spoke to said there are no signs of improvement, with emergency physicians and nurses now calling for a national forum to start fixing this urgent situation. Omar?
A situation that appears to be getting worse. So, Avis, is the issue that there isn't enough money, or that the money being spent right now isn't being done so effectively?
Well, money is an issue in that you need more beds. We have an aging population, and we appear to have sicker people who didn't necessarily get care during COVID. So that's an issue. But I think the underlying point here is that this has been a problem that existed before COVID, and there wasn't a lot of planning for what we have now. And any corporation, any entity should be planning for what's needed. That's what we've got.
So, most asked question, why did we move from Ontario to Saskatchewan? Well, let's get into it. First of all, y'all, I understand everybody has different likes and dislikes in life, okay? Just because I say I like this place does not mean that everyone has to agree, okay? Some people love England, some people hate England, some people love Dubai, some people hate Dubai, right? Okay, we all have different likes and dislikes. We all gotta put that out there, first of all. I hated the city culture. And that's just me personally, you know? I'm not the kind of person who likes to sit in traffic for half my day. I'm not the kind of person who likes to go outside and hear sirens and hear gunshots. And I did not like Toronto, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I hated that place. I actually grew up in Barrie, Ontario. So I actually love Barrie. Barrie is like my home forever, Barrie, Ontario. And, you know, it gives more of like a country vibe, country feeling. And that's the kind of girl I am. I want to be able to go outside and breathe fresh air and, you know, see animals walking around. Not freaking raccoons. I'm talking about deers and, you know, all the beautiful things that nature has to offer. I think a huge reason, though, was Toronto was getting hella expensive, getting hella pricey. And it was getting to a point where my partner and I mean, we're in our very early 20s. But my partner and I were getting to a point where, like, how do we even have children in a world like this? You know, in Toronto, how do we have children that can grow up properly and go to school properly and come home? it wasn't realistic. It wasn't. There's no 20-year-olds in Toronto unless you got mommy and daddy's money. There's no 20-year-olds in Toronto who has a nice house and is living the life. That's just facts, right? We were not able to live the life we really wanted. We were living paycheck to paycheck basically in Toronto, right? We were not able to save for nothing. We were just not living the life, guys. That's just facts. Whereas we came here to Saskatchewan, we already were able to buy a house in just 6 months. That's like impossible in Toronto. And like I'm saying, right, maybe there are some people living a good life in Toronto, but I'm sure that's under certain circumstances. Toronto is not for upcoming adults, essentially. Like, you're not going to be able to really live a good and happy life in Toronto. You're probably in traffic all the time. You're probably hearing gunshots all the time. You probably can't afford to do anything. And I get it, right? Like, the city is fun. You can do so many things in the city, but at what cost? Really? I mean, if you're going back home to your 2-bedroom squeezed up apartment on top of like 80 other people, like, what is the point of all that, honestly? People love to hype up Toronto because they say, you know, it's the place to be. And it's true. Like, when I was in Toronto, I was doing modeling gigs and acting gigs. Like, that was my thing back in Toronto. And I wouldn't have had a lot of doors opened for me the way I did if I never did live in Toronto, right? I was exposed to a lot of beautiful things in Toronto, but it's like the lifestyle choice, guys, the lifestyle. I don't like that city living where you're passing by a million people on your way to work, and then when you get to work, it's like a million other people, and it's just always so dramatic. And like, my sensitivity, no, I can't. I literally cannot. Toronto was just so negative for my mental health. I wasn't even able to like think straight because all I'm thinking about is like, oh, tomorrow, how am I gonna go outside and make some money so I can pay all these expensive ass bills, and so I can keep myself in this 2-bedroom apartment and never have children because I won't be able to afford children. Like, that was literally like every single day. And I am the kind of person who, like, I want to have a family of 10, you know what I mean? I want to have 10 children. I want to be able to milk cows in the morning and go and just do beautiful things that is in the nature, whereas Toronto wasn't allowing me to do that. Like, I remember when I was back in Barrie, I used to take lots of walks because Barrie's pretty good with their nature. They try. Then we got to Toronto, and I was like, where can I even go to take a walk? Literally, where? Where do you go to just go and relax with nobody there in pure nature? There's nowhere. Everything is pavement. Everything is dirty. Everything has already been touched by a billion other people. Like, y'all on the TTC, I don't even want to talk about TTC, you know, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't. And I understand some people love Toronto. Like, that's their everything, right? But it wasn't for us. We couldn't do it. Whereas now we're just living the life that we actually want to be living, right? We're living in a really beautiful home. We have lots of land. Let's talk about that, because even if you do buy a house in Toronto, what land do you have? Please show me your backyard. Anyways, you know, here in Saskatchewan, it's nature. It's just you. Everything just depends on you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be crammed up with a million other people. You're not hearing ambulances 24/7. You're not seeing a crackhead right outside. When you get outside of your fucking apartment building, there's not like a crackhead right there. You know, like, these are the differences that are from Ontario to Saskatchewan. I won't shit on the whole of Ontario. There's a lot of beautiful places in Ontario, but Toronto specifically, it's a no. It's a no. Saskatchewan, on the other hand, it's just so peaceful. Like, I couldn't believe how peaceful it was when we came here. You don't hear anything. You probably pass by like 4 people your whole day. When you get to work, it's just very good vibes. You leave work, very good vibes. You're not in traffic. There's never traffic here in Saskatchewan. I haven't drove though in Saskatoon, so don't quote me on Saskatoon traffic, but anywhere else there is no traffic. It's just beautiful here. It's just so peaceful. I feel like I'm actually connected to myself more, you know? I can actually focus on my future now, right? Toronto, I didn't have a future, right? I didn't even know if I could have kids and be able to afford them. Whereas here in Saskatchewan, I can actually plan a future. I can actually be like, wow, if I want, I can buy a boat next summer. If I want, I can buy another house in a couple of months from now. You know, it's just a lot of benefits moving from Ontario to Saskatchewan. But those are my reasons. So, yeah.